What is going on, everybody? I'm BobbyFi. I am just going to be doing a quick little show about today's slate. We've been trying to go live so we can get you guys. Hopefully, you're following us, so that way, please give us the likes and the subscribes. It means a lot to us. And yeah, we'll break down today's slate. I'm going to move my screen around a little bit so we can get my DraftKings lineups up here for you. This is basically where I'm at early. We're still waiting on news, is the truth. I'm looking at my projection systems. I'm looking at the potential out there, and there's a lot we're waiting on still. So we need to figure out what's going to happen. I just have the feeling it's one of those late days where there's going to be some info that we weren't maybe quite ready for yet. Yeah, that's just basically where I'm at. So as you can see, some early builds. The Cody Martin thing is only a thing if we have no PJ Williams. Even still, I think you could argue that he's an interesting GPP play, but that's not going to be my eventual ownership. I've got Trey Lyles in there speculating that there's a chance that maybe Aldridge sits on the back-to-back. I think he probably plays, but maybe is limited. Actually, the games he's played, Lyles has been getting more minutes. JJ Redick, an off-the-board play. I'm going to be editing these down. This is just an early look at some early lineup builds I made that are probably going to have to differ quite a bit as we get going. I've got some FanDuel builds that you can probably see most of. I think I'm just going to play Lillard on FanDuel. That's just my thinking. I think that you're going to get lower than normal ownership. I think there's other pivots you can make elsewhere. You can see I got Marvin Williams in there, but that's more of a placeholding situation than anything else. Although it's a kind of interesting GPP play just because they can go really small with Houston. It's possible. But I don't think that's overall going to be something I do. These are just some early lineup builds. What I want to do now is get some thoughts from you guys, talk about this slate. Please, again, likes, thumbs up, subscribe. Please give us all that stuff. We need to stay together. We need some help. And we've got some pretty cool new things happening. But there's a couple sites that I expect to be working with very shortly, and we will have a much larger, much more organized, much better produced shows for you in a much more regular schedule. Although we've been trying to keep to our daily schedule with both videos and live shows. So please give us the like, the thumbs up, and please, follow us. What's up, MJV? I'm just asking you guys. I want to know your thoughts on today's slate. I think it's an interesting one for a small one. There's I'm struggling is where I'm at because I really love Harden, obviously. That makes a lot of sense. But I love Giannis here. And I love that game. The problem is I also think Anthony Davis is way too cheap. I think LeBron's in a great spot and too cheap. And then we've got Lillard just going Lillard-y all the time. So what do we do exactly? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And honestly, I thought by this time of the day I would get some special news, some extra news of who's in, who's out, that would help me with some of my value. And honestly, we haven't had any of that. There's been no surprises. PJ Washington, we still don't know about that situation. That's going to determine a lot for me. I love the Pels and Rockets. I think JJ Redick is a really interesting, if we don't get some great value, he's kind of an interesting value guy that I don't expect a ton of people to look at. And at 3,700, I think he could have a big game. We know you want to beat Milwaukee from the outside. That's the way we go. I am not interested in Chris Clemens. No Chris Clemens for me, unless we hear about some other news. Unless there's somebody else that's been not announced out in the last like 20 minutes that I somehow missed. I will take a look at my projections. It looks like there may actually have been somebody who was announced out that I might have missed. So let me just reproject some things real quick. Who have we got missing that just would open that up? I just cannot see Chris Clemens being the play on this slate. I would just rather take my shots with the McLemores, the Rivers, the Tuckers, the Gordons, the Hardens. To be honest, I would rather play Cephalosha than I would Chris Clemens, I think. That's a little bit where I'm at. I don't have a lot of love for Chris Clemens. And I think that if you're going to pay exactly $3K for any player, I think there was somebody I ran across earlier in my projections. Let me take a quick look. And I'll let you guys know if I have an exact minimum cost guy for you to gamble on instead of Chris Clemens. I'm not sure I've got one exactly minimum, but there should be some that are fairly in that range. No, I don't think I have an exact minimum guy here. I mean, I would just rather get the extra 500 for JaVale McGee if you're going to take that shot, or even Gary Trent, as gross as that feels. I just don't love the 3K. Oh, I think you could take a shot on Wesley Matthews, but I just don't think these are the wisest moves. I'm still hoping for a little more value. Still feel like this slate hasn't formed yet, and sort of letting a lot of my decisions get dictated by what we're going to see in this next upcoming hour. Favorite center on FanDuel. Let's just take a quick look at my FanDuel lineup, why don't we? So I hate the center position on FanDuel. I don't like my current build. My 555 is not going to stay the way that it is. But I think that there is some value to taking some gambling shots at the power forward spot, paying down. I think the best center play on FanDuel is probably Jokic. I know that's no shocker, but you don't really need him to outscore like LeBron at the same price because of the position scarcity. Like, we've still got Giannis and Barton and some other guys I really like at small forward. So center, I've landed up on too much Dwight Howard, obviously, so far. That's not where I'm planning to be. It just happens to be where I'm at this moment, just because I wanted to get a lineup in with Lillard, Giannis, and Harden, and really think that there's a good chance that you could get 200 from them or more. I mean, I think that you probably need like 230 with the way the rest of this lineup is, but I think that, there's upside for some of these guys. The pay down is very easy. It's just play the Cody Zeller. The pay up, I think you just play Jokic. I don't really love anybody else. JaVale McGee's fine to take a shot on. It's a terrible position, so I'm not playing as much on FanDuel in general because I just don't like the way the builds led me. But I'm willing to take a shot on one of the Laker guys in this matchup. I'm still hoping for some sneaky late Spurs moves, like maybe LaMarcus Aldridge is limited, or maybe he's not playing and we can get Podol, or we can get Trey Lyles. I just had a feeling that on these back-to-backs that some of these guys would be sitting, and so far that hasn't seemed to be the case. So unless there's something I don't know yet, there is definitely something I don't know yet, but unless there's something I don't know, unless there isn't something we don't know yet, I'm leaning on way too much Macklemore right now. I have way too much, I have a ton of Rivers, which I feel actually better about than Macklemore just because the minutes are secure. But I do like the Macklemore play, both in Harden lineups and in other ones. I just don't feel like it should be looked at as like a sure thing type of value. It's just there's an upside to that value in that matchup. PJ Tucker, obviously, but that's not shocking anyone. And it's not the same situation when there was it's not like there's no Harden and no Westbrook, and they still may use him as center, though, so it does feel like the double-double is very, very possible for PJ Tucker. And again, I'm over the field on Harden right now. I'm over the field on a lot of these guys, and I'm because of it, I'm paying down at some weird places, and I'm foregoing some of that mid-range guys we like Zion, who I don't love I like the pace of the matchup, but I don't know if I love the matchup for Zion. We've got LeBron, who I really like, and I just would like to get a little more of. LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't have nearly enough of at 6,200. That's too cheap. I like taking shots on DeMar DeRozan today. I like DeJounte Murray at 5K as a potential other semi-value. Eric Gordon, I'd like to get a little bit more of than I have right now. This is just sort of my initial builds and where they've led me. But again, I still feel like that piece of information, I can't click the overall build on my massive lineup, because I just feel like there's something that we don't know about yet that's going to break, that's going to change the slate. And I don't want to get 100 lineups out there until it does. So that's just sort of where I'm at. Oops, I almost gave away the Roto QL information there for free. But yeah, the center here, what you'd like to do if you were ideally is to try and find a way to spend up for Jokic. Now, it's very hard if you're going to play Lillard, Harden, and Giannis to do that. So I don't think you're going to have any luck that way. But if you want to eliminate one of those guys, that makes a lot of sense. Most logical would be Lillard, obviously, but again, is it really logical to bet against a guy who's just lighting the world on fire every single night? I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time. I do feel like this does feel like more of a mellow type of spot, so I consider doing something like this with my FanDuel builds. I actually thought this was a really good way to go. First, let's do this. I thought we would go at small forward, skip the other one, and then go Carmelo and Barton in that game. Power forward, I like PJ Washington. I like LaMarcus Aldridge. I like Zion. Sort of a toss-up with me for these guys, but you could do it, you probably can't do it on this build, so you've got to got to spend down with one of these other guys here. But this was the other thought, was to go to Rosen. Doesn't quite work with Lillard as well. You'd have to skip Lillard out of there. But you see what I'm working at. There's just different ways to pivot around and play around with this sort of build. But I do sort of like that Carmelo Barton. The problem is I'd rather not play Will Barton in the same stacks as Jokic, but they're both fine together. It's just, I don't know. It's a weird build on FanDuel. Center sucks on FanDuel. That's why I'm not playing as much over there. And I'm probably willing to take a gamble that even though I have Dwight Howard in there as a placeholder, I think I might gamble down to JaVale McGee if nothing else happens, just because I don't really see these guys as being all that different. And Cody Zeller, well, he might be the safest and easiest play. Other than Lillard, I'm a little worried about how chalky the rest of my lineup is and where that leaves me as far as Cody Zeller is concerned. I'm also worried that Cody Zeller, they don't even need him to play in this game. They can play all these tiny guys because Houston doesn't play anybody over 6'6". And I just think it's important to notice that. So anyway, I'm going to take a quick look and see if there's anything else you guys have thoughts on. The game I'm most exposure to, it's definitely, the truth is it's Houston that I have the most exposure to, even though I would like to have the most exposure to Giannis in that other environment. And I really like some of those builds. Some of my builds are definitely going to be centered around that other New Orleans game, but I'm not finding as much love for Zion for once as everyone else is, because while I think 40 seems very, very likely for him, this is not like an ideal matchup situation for the way that it's a great pace for him. I just worry a little bit. Playing Giannis, I'm worried about, I feel like you could make an argument that Ingram is the better play at 7K than Zion. I feel like you can make an argument that Holiday is the better play than Zion. I feel like you could argue that Lonzo might even be the better play tonight than Zion. So that's just where I'm at. I like LeBron James on DraftKings. I do too. I don't think that he's going to be off the board by any means. As of right now, the projected ownership pretty much across most of my systems, they like LeBron. So they're, probably getting him, 25, 35%, somewhere in that range. Whereas Harden goes probably 60% plus. Davis probably around the same as LeBron. The only question is, if we're going to play LeBron, shouldn't we really strongly consider Anthony Davis? Obviously, the limited on minutes on the back-to-back the other night, but that doesn't scare you at all. This is the front end of anything. There's nothing happening that's getting in the way of this. They don't play again until Thursday, a game I'll be at actually. And he put up 78 in the last time he played. This is a great matchup for him. He's going to be owned too. That's what I'm having trouble with. You don't want to play. It feels bad to play LeBron and AD on this kind of slate where you have other studs that you want to pay for. So it's a kind of a tricky situation a little bit. Okay, guys. So get in some QQs, and I will absolutely answer as many things as I can because I have to get out of here in just a little bit. So give me some QQs. I'm going to sit here and drink my power shake while hopefully we get some to load. I don't really usually love small slates, and I feel like this is a really interesting one. And I'm kind of even curious. I want to get a feel for the industry and where other people are going. Now, I've got a pretty good feel for most of it, but some of it just feels like some of the guys who stand out, I'll point out that I'm going to end up with more than I've got right now. I'm going to be higher on the field than Giannis for sure, which is going to force me into some weird positions. So I'm either going to have to spend way down at certain spots or just sacrifice some of the top-end guys. As far as the top-end guys go right now, I actually have Harden, Giannis, then Anthony Davis, but I think that I'm going to switch over and get a bunch more Damian Lillard. Now, I'm going to be well ahead of the field on Damian Lillard, but I don't know how high that's actually going to put me. Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. I really like DeMar DeRozan tonight. I really, really like him if he plays. I think that's going to be a tough one that I won't be able to get as much of. I'm playing way more Ben McLemore and Rivers, which don't feel good in lineups with it doesn't feel good. But it's because these guys, I really like the spend-ups today. I think that they're an unusual number of spend-ups in smashing spots. Now, could you build a solid, lineup without them? I will definitely build some of them. You can build the Devontae Graham with Brandon Ingram and, I'm trying to think of the other middle rate, DeMar DeRozan, the sort of the mid-tier guys, LaMarcus Aldridge, Drew Holidays, Zion, even C.J. McCollum. I like Carmelo Anthony quite a bit. I'd like to get a little bit more exposure to him. Ben McLemore officially starting today, for those of you who are waiting to know that. I think Miles Bridges, if somehow Washington doesn't play, is going to be completely overlooked, and this guy's been just crushing, and I've been making me a fortune because nobody ever plays him. But if Washington's back, still a GPP play, but not so much if not as good a play. I think I'd side with Carmelo. Look, it's Carmelo going back to Denver. Carmelo took 15 shots in his last game against Utah. It was too emotional to play against the Lakers the other night, so he's rested. I think this is a great spot for Carmelo, and I think he's going to get up a bunch of shots going back to Denver. So let's get high on Carmelo. Let's go. Let's get more exposure to him than we have right now, because that's one guy who could. It just feels so easy for him to put up 40. I think he put up 41 the last time against them. Is definitely a vengeful type of guy, which just means he's going to take shots. I mean, not vengeful or he's going to hurt somebody, just going to take a lot of shots. One thing I don't understand is the Cody Zeller projected ownership. I've seen it on different sites. It seems too low, and I just think if it's that low, we've got to take that shot. But it just feels a little bit too low. And his ownership feels low, his projections feel low, his minutes feel low, his fantasy points. And I thought he'd be a guy I would be trying to fade as a cash game play. And now it's looking like people are actually not playing him, which is confusing to me. I think you can speculate with Rondo, but I would just add that I think that you get a little extra boost in the NBA when you play your former teams, and it's not a coincidence that in Sacramento, I think that he got a little bit of extra run. Just my personal take. So I also think we've got the Malik Monk birthday narrative. So let's try and get a little bit more Malik Monk, because he's another one of those guys that I'm not saying narratives drive everything. But you get a gunner who's going to get an extra reason to shoot the ball, which means he can shoot himself into more minutes and more, like, Malik Monk has the ability to shoot himself into a 45 fantasy point game. Like, he's got an incredible ability, going to be very, very low owned on both sites. I like that, taking that gamble. These are just some names I'm spouting out while I'm hoping some QQs got answered, but these are different guys I'm looking at. And there's an unusual number of good plays. I'm not going to be like all the guys on certain sites I've worked with before and just say everybody, but I'm naming plays that are out there, and I'm trying to say guys who I'm going to have in my lineups. You can see my lineups are kind of spread out right now, and you're seeing who I'm actually playing, but I'm definitely going to make some pivots here as the times go on. I like Rozier very much, and I think he's going to be – the reason I don't like him on FanDuel is I just think he ends up being the ultra chalk most of the time, almost all the time here. So it's hard for me at the ownership that I project him to be at for me to have the interest that I would want. I find myself building down a little bit, getting low ownership on Rivers, and then playing my man. Let's play Damian Lillard a little bit tonight. I mean, it does worry me that I know it's gonna end soon. Hot streaks are real. If anybody had caught on to this, Anthony, if they were just playing Damian Lillard and you played the chalk everywhere else, you'd be making a fortune the last 2 weeks. So I'm gonna keep playing him as long as that happens. Westbrook is out. Yeah, we knew that one. So yeah, it doesn't look like we've got anything too new. We've got a lot of viewers, or about more people coming in, which is friendly. That's nice to see. Guys, really appreciate you guys giving me the thumbs up and the like and everything. You know, we've got a new site that I'm working with. Again, I'm not going to tell anybody about it soon, but we're going to be up soon, and we've got a whole new kind of show, a whole new thing for you that's going to be up probably after the All-Star break, somewhere around that time. DeRozan and Barton versus LeBron and Dante. Like DiVincenzo. I think that the savvier play is DeRozan Barton, but I do like LeBron and Dante, so it's kind of an interesting how you want to build your lineup question. I also am trying, because I feel so strongly about 10 players on this slate, I'm trying to play guys like where I'm playing DeRozan, I'm trying to play a LeBron or an AD. So if you had AD in that lineup, I would definitely lean DeRozan Barton. If you don't, I would probably call it close, but I still think I like DeRozan Barton. McLemore starting it, we know that one. Let's see if that gets. I think it's going to have some effect on the ownership on the overall projections. And we've got some extra time to go here through, guys. Like, I don't feel anybody else is going to teach me anything on this slate unless there's anything I missed. So I don't feel like I need to go to here any other time. But I do feel like this is a pretty self-explanatory spot for Houston. And yeah, I mean, it's just about trying to find tournament pivots. You know, your pivots. Let me just take a quick look here. So my way above the field again. Giannis. I'd like to be way ahead of the field, Devontae Graham, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm way ahead of I'll be ahead of the field on PJ Washington, assuming he plays. I'll be ahead of the field on Austin Rivers, probably, even though I don't really want to be. Um, if other value opens up, I can find a way away from that one, I think. At least a little, at least in some of these lineups. I'll be ahead of the field on Brandon Ingram. DeMar DeRozan, I'll be way ahead of the field on. I'll probably have like 30% or 25% DeMar DeRozan. I really, really think I buy into some narratives, and it's made me a lot of money. And it sucks that it's a back-to-back, and the Spurs could get slammed here because I think DeMar playing. I mean, last night he put up 50 plus. Playing back in LA, grew up loving Kobe, trying to mimic Kobe, was one of the sad guys the other day. I think his first game against the Lakers in LA, you just would think he would try and go out there and even do some Kobe moves, but just to try and really feature like himself and just, I don't know, like a sort of I just could see that happening. A couple other guys who, again, having a hard time getting as much LaMarcus Aldridge as I'd like. I will be below the field on a few guys. I'll be below the field on Zion, sadly, for once, and I love Zion, and so it always scares me. I'll be below the field on probably going to end up below the field on LeBron, which does not feel good to me. I feel really nervous about that one. I'll be well ahead of the field on Damian Lillard, which is the reason why I feel nervous about the LeBron thing. It's weird to pay more for Lillard than a guy who's projected to outscore him by almost 10 fantasy points, pretty much across the board. I don't know, man. It's a tough one. It's about trying to get different on a 4-game slate at some point, and I mean, it's not like it's that crazy that Damian Lillard would outscore LeBron, considering he's done it 5 games in a row. I think we need to try and find room for guys like Holiday and Ingram. I think they're the better plays, along with Lonzo. I think those are the guys I would lean more to. What just happened here? Oh, yeah, we'll see if Hartenstein gets in the court. What's really gross about the Houston situation is what if they do go to Hartenstein and he starts playing like 24 minutes or something, squeezes out some of the other guys, and then we get the troll game from Hartenstein. So it's unlikely. I don't think you need size to match up with Charlotte, but whatever. I mean, maybe they need to give him some reps because now they're trying to trade Capella, supposedly. We'll see. Hernan Gomez is an interesting off-the-board play, but I don't think I can get to him too much personally. Austin Rivers, yeah, his ownership is high. I don't know it's not really a question. Opinion on Rozier and FanDuel, I like him. I told you that one. Any love for Bledsoe? I do like Bledsoe, especially on FanDuel. I think he's actually a really good play. His ownership is too low. Is going to be crazy low on DraftKings, but I just feel like spending that price for him. I think I would rather side with a guy like Lonzo or somebody like that than I would play Bledsoe. And honestly, I would rather just spend a few hundred more and play Drew Holiday than either of them. So that's sort of where I'm at. Guys, we got a lot of likes, a lot of views. Really appreciate you guys coming in and tuning in. Again, these are mock lineups. Don't plan on this Cody Martin thing being my lineups. Don't say Bobby's so ballsy, he's playing Cody Martin, and then don't blame me for Cody Martin. This is a speculative lineup if PJ Washington's out that I don't know if people are ready to project. Now, if you want to understand why I'm interested in Cody Martin, in case those of you haven't been paying attention to what's been happening, well, first of all, Miles Bridges becomes a great play again, and he's been terrific. Even with PJ, he's okay. You get these minutes. So Washington is the game where we lost Washington. He got hurt. Then we have the game against San Antonio. Okay, blowout. Then the game against Orlando at home, not so much a blowout. And, he played 28 minutes the last 2 games, and 23 probably would have been 28 if he was playing if PJ Washington was out the game before. I think he's interesting. I don't think he's by any means like a smash play, but definitely an interesting pivot who might get overlooked for Ben McLemore that probably you can play together or you can use him as a pivot. And I think it's kind of an interesting route to go that maybe people haven't really caught on to. Now, don't play Caleb Martin, but play Cody if you're going to play one of them. And again, that's very speculative on my part if PJ Washington's out only. And as you can see, I have PJ Washington in pretty much all my other lineups, so that's really where I'm at. All right. Do I like Daniel House on DraftKings? I think he's a really good play, but I can't fit him in with the way that my lineups are being built currently. That's the truth. To play him at 5,100 feels weird. I think I would rather play 5K DeJounte Murray. I think I would rather go down or spend up to Eric Gordon or go down to PJ Tucker if I was playing the Houston guys. That's just where I'm landing. I don't love that I'm landing there so much because I think he is kind of interesting. And again, I'd like to get more Will Barton and DeMar DeRozan's in here. This is still going to be well ahead of the field, I believe, but I'd like to try and find a way to, this is the problem I'm running into. I do have AD in this one. That's what you want to try and get this correlation at least as much as you can, especially when taking these low-owned guys. Like, I want to play Lillard in a lineup with Barton. Or if I was going to play Jokic, Lillard would probably be in that lineup because I do want some exposure to him. I know Barton's big. Think about this for Will Barton. Let me just explain something. I understand Jamal Murray might hurt his usage and all that. Look at the games that since everyone else has been back, the last couple games. Actually, Gary Harris coming back actually kind of helped him. That's the truth. He also will get to run more with the second unit, means less time with Jokic on the floor. I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. We don't know what the limits on Murray are going to be. So just take that in for what it is. Will Barton also, then let's take a look also at just the actual matchup versus Portland, who is his former team, by the way. Call me a narrative guy again if you want to. You see these last couple of games, Denver's been playing faster, even against a team like Detroit. Like, you got a no defense Portland team. I just see Will Barton in a lot of game scenarios putting up 45 to 50 fantasy points here, and I don't think getting the ownership. I like him better on FanDuel, but I think he's a good play on both sides, and I believe in little bits of revenge. I would like it better if it was in Portland, but I'm going to give him a little bit of a boost for that. Whiteside or Jokic, I hate Whiteside tonight if he's going to be popular, if where he's got ownership, which I think on DraftKings he'll have a little bit. I don't think he'll have a ton on FanDuel. Actually, I don't think he'll have a ton on either, but personally, I don't like this matchup for Whiteside. Now, is it scary because I don't like the center position? Should I probably be considering him as an option? Probably. But I'm really having a hard time getting there. He'll probably end up in a lineup of mine or something like that, but I'm not really excited. I just really hate the center spot. It feels like if you're going to play him, just go up to Jokic. Like, that's just where I'm at. Like, why not just play Jokic then? I actually am really curious to see where the ownership breaks down because I could see Brook Lopez becoming like one of the most popular centers, potentially the most popular center outside of, Zeller is going to be the most popular. But there's certainly nobody you feel good about, which makes Whiteside a legitimate play, to answer your question. I just don't. I really don't like him in this spot. He can always put up a monster game. I'm getting questions on Twitter about am I doing a live stream today? Anyway, so here's where we go. So let's see. We got Whiteside or Jokic. We already got that one. Definitely Jokic for me. Favors on DK, I think, is a mistake, and I think people are going to make it. And there's no question that Derek Favors could easily put up a double-double. Why are we projecting his minutes at a number that he hasn't played yet? He's also going to have a lot of ownership. What's his ceiling in minutes tonight? Like, I mean, since Zion has been getting the keys a little bit more, this guy hasn't played more than 23 minutes, and he's putting up a score that you'd not want in a tournament. Could he put up 30? For sure. Does he have a chance to beat this? Absolutely. I just think that to take a high-owned Favors, especially when I'm looking at these other guys that I like, I don't want to play him over some of these other guys, and I'd rather play a lower-owned PJ Washington or a similarly owned, who I think has a lot more realistic upside, assuming that he's good to go. That's just sort of where I stand, and it's just not my kind of a play. I'd rather spend up a little bit more for Carmelo Anthony instead of playing Favors. That would be to me a much better tournament play. That's sort of where I'm at. Would you play Bridges and Graham in the same lineup? I think that's absolutely fine if I was playing. I mean, in that lineup, I think I would have to see Harden on the other side, and I'd be much more likely to play Bridges and Graham in a lineup together if we hear that Washington is out. As it stands, I think you can play Graham and Washington in the lineup too together because they make a lot of sense. I think Washington's playing. I'm pretty sure he's playing too. I'm just throwing this out there because that's why I can always pivot over to having an incredible amount of ownership on McLemore. But again, I'm differentiating a few other places with the DeRozans, with the Lillards, even to some extent with some of the mid-tiers that I like. The other ones, I think we'll get some lower ownership than usual on Barton, and because of Murray coming back. And and a lot of these guys. So I feel like there's a lot of room to go. And one thing I can tell you is don't trust. Oh, there we go. We just got a message. There we go. I didn't see that yet. That's why you guys were saying it. So with PJ Washington back, I don't have as much interest in the other guys. I have a lot of interest in PJ Washington, but I still think they're all fine. And I do like these. I like the spot that they're in. I think that one of Rozier or both, and sorry, his name's escaping me for some reason. Devontae Graham could go off, but I don't think that's the way that I'm going tonight. You got Aldridge in 43% of your lineup, Drew guy. That makes sense. That's a logical. He makes a ton of sense depending on your build. I am paying for 2 to 3 guys. So basically what I'm doing is paying for 2.5 guys. And it's different when you're paying, depends on which ones you're playing too. Like with Lillard, I'm playing Davis, so he's not quite the full-on spend up. So I can also fit in DeRozan and Barton. But where I've got Harden over here and Giannis together, I'm going to have to make some pretty ugly choices here. But it's a different NBA now. You got guys at 3K or 4,300 like Malik Monk who could shoot themselves into a game and put up 50 fantasy points. This is the world we live in because of the three-point shot. It's partly why I don't like betting on teams anymore that are favored by more than 10 points, because I don't really feel like anybody has that much of an advantage over each other if one team can get hot from three-point range. PJ and Bridges together, that's a no for me, but I'm fine. I'm okay with that. Redick or Rivers for a DK GPP. Alone, Redick is the better tournament play just in terms of ownership. Obviously, he's going to be really low owned versus Rivers will be really high owned. So if your rest of your lineup is chalky, maybe you go Redick over Rivers. I have a lot of lineups with both of them in there because I'm spending up so often today. And, I like to middle build a lot when people like to go stars and scrubs, but I'm having a hard time doing it because I love the spot these stars are in tonight. And I think we're looking at multiple guys scoring 70-plus fantasy points. And it just feels like I can possibly get there with enough other guys to make it viable. But you could also get there with the Brandon Ingrams who could put up 50 fantasy points for you. And then so you could get it from 45 from Barton and you get 50 from DeRozan. And there's a lot of other ways you can build tonight. It's a really interesting smaller slate. I just would encourage everyone to not get too chalky because there's going to be a lot of groupthink mentality on a slate this size. And I would encourage you not to be too chalky in that. Going back to my FanDuel lineups that I've got as of right now. Now, these are not what they're going to end up being. Let me just make sure you guys can see them accurately on my computer when they pop up. So I don't like what I've done with my power forward spot here. This is a what if Aldridge doesn't play now. I know Lyles didn't do anything last time Aldridge didn't play. Actually, it's weird. I actually don't mind him with Aldridge because Lyles makes more sense alongside Aldridge than he does Podol. That's a weird thing to say. But I think you'll see combinations all over if Aldridge does play tonight. And he's just one of those. This is a punt and hope it somehow holds. The real thing to do here is to try and get a little bit different. I don't mind Derek White, by the way, at 4,300. I still think it's probably better, and I can be willing to play a little bit of chalk over here because if I play Rivers with Lillard, I've got Lillard and Harden already, so I'm already a little bit off the board with the Lillard part already. I'm also playing all the Houston guys, which feels a little bit forcey to me. I do like running it back with Barton. I think he's a good low-owned option. I would love it if I could find some value in this range. I don't mind the Lyles play. I know it's weird. Like there is a way that it works where you end up getting Marvin Williams to have a game at some point. I just don't think I can make it. So I ended up sort of a little bit here, which doesn't really have a coordinating lineup, except for you've got the Rivers, the Lillard, and Barton part of it. But otherwise, you really don't have a whole lot of correlation. That might be okay tonight. So I kind of like this lineup build. And I think Kuzma is just cheap enough to where he could have a game. And, we could argue over a couple other power forwards, I suppose. But this is probably a little bit of a better tournament build than my other lineup. I also think that, I'm telling you, Josh Hartenstein is going to troll us at some day. I'm just not going to get there today. Let's see. Any other questions before I get out of here, guys? I got to run soon. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and liking the show and everything. Please make sure to subscribe. Please tell your friends. Please let's keep this thing running here. Let's make some money together. We've been doing good. I know that Abrasive had a good one the other day. I know there's some other guys. We've gotten a bunch of messages on people helping them win tournaments. So let's keep that going. Let's keep rocking our our wins. And look, I can't do it quite up to lock, but I can certainly answer a few more questions. How would I rank Brolo, Grant, and Zeller for DK GPPs? I would rank at the moment at the projection I'm seeing on. I'm surprised by the projection I'm seeing on Zeller. Let's put it that way. I don't see why he's not more popular, and I think he ends up being more popular than he's projected. So I think I would rank it though. Still, I think I prefer Zeller as the actual play, but in terms of ownership, I like Grant too. I actually have Grant in some of my 222s because I think he's off the board and should play a lot of minutes. Oh, the big thing I wanted to hit on with Barton that's really important, guys. Really, really important stuff for Barton. I think Michael Porter Jr. being out benefits him incredibly, and I think that's why his numbers were hurt for a while. So I also think the same can be said that I think it helps Jeremy Grant also. But I think I'm going mostly Miles Bridges. I'm sorry, not Miles Bridges. The other way. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there. Yeah, and so the biggest thing with looking through my lineups that I'm just noticing is that I've definitely got to get a little bit off of so much Houston together, especially. But I don't think it's like bad, if that makes sense. And if there's a pivot off of Cody Martin, also another one I'm just going to show you guys while I do it. You can always take a shot on a guy who's 3,300 who's going to play, 28 minutes or so. And you can always take a shot on a guy who's 3,800 who's going to play. Like, you could play these guys. They're not fun plays, but there's certainly plays who, if I was forced off of Martin, which it looks like I'm going to be, that I'm willing to take a shot on. And again, these lineups are going to change. This is an early build. I'm gonna edit them up to lock, and then even after, because most of the games don't start until a little bit later, until 5 and then 5:30. We've really just got the one early one, so I'm gonna load this one back up, put it in a couple of big ones, and that's pretty much where I'm at. So guys, give me a QQ, give me a thing before I get out of here. Otherwise, I am probably gonna end this stream pretty soon. All right, and I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to take my ownership off of... Now, I still think there's like a weird chance that something could happen for Martin. Like, he's been getting a little bit of run anyway. But I think I'm going to have it much lower than I originally planned. And, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. You guys are awesome. We love you. Appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you guys about the new site very shortly. Hit me up on Twitter with any questions. Please make it public because I don't like answering a million DMs. But I'm happy to answer public questions if I get there in time. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate you. We are out of here.